Spoiler warning.
Hi.
Take me down to New York City where the people are good and ripe for killing. Oh, won't you bring me to New York? Stabby, stab, stab, and a shotgun for some reason.
Okay, Scream 6. Again, big spoilers. The movie just came out, so if you haven't seen it yet, watch it.
Did you watch it?
Watch it.
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
Did you fucking watch it?
I think they watched it.
Okay.
All right. Rip off the Band-Aid. This was a good movie. I was surprised. Okay, let me backtrack. It was an entertaining movie. We bring back Kirby. We bring back Gale Weathers. And no Neve Campbell. The reason being is because Neve Campbell didn't believe she was being properly compensated for being a legacy character. Like, she is the embodiment of Scream. When I found out she wasn't going to be in it, I'm like, what? Why make this? What's the point?
Man, who doesn't love to watch a good stabbing? To see the life drained from someone's eyes? What?
I find it weird that I chose a serial killer to be my co-host.
Well, keep in mind, it's not serial killer like I kill boxes of cereal. It's I kill people, especially the ones that piss me off, so shut your goddamn mouth!
Yeah, she said she wasn't properly compensated. They didn't offer her enough money to be in this movie. In Scream 6, I think they handled her absence well. It was basically like, hey, she's just hiding. And we don't need to know anything else. They didn't change like her dying. They didn't change it like her dying or anything else. I also didn't want, because she wasn't in this movie, I didn't want them to kill off Gale Weathers. And she does have a scene where you might think that she's going to die, but she doesn't. I'm very happy that they did that as well. I'm glad that the opening scene featured back to what they usually do, a character that we haven't been familiar with, who's very dumb in this. I love you, Samara Weaving, but who goes down an alley? Who does that? Who does that? Also, she is online dating, and they're trying to convince the audience that this ridiculously hot professor is like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to date. I don't know what I'm doing. It's so silly. Like, for her to be single or to have problems with getting a date, I don't buy it. In any case, she's murdered, and then we see
The killer?
Not necessarily, because he gets killed later on. That was strange, but it was a cool swing to introduce us to how we're involving the world of Jenna Ortega's Carpenter sister character. And we're in New York. When I found out that this was going to be in New York, I found it a little more interesting. I was so against this movie, and then I heard it's in New York. And I was like, all right. I forget that these movies are spoofs of slasher movies, and Jason took Manhattan, so why can't Ghostface take Brooklyn? I don't know where this takes place, what borough this takes place in. With the Carpenter sisters, who are having issues with like being together at first, like Jenna Ortega does not want to be with Sam. Tara doesn't want to be with Sam at all. She wants to live her own life. But once they realize murders are happening around them, they combine forces and they're not bickering the whole time. I'm really happy that they did that because I don't like bickering. It's too much. It was really cool to see Sam's character fight with the Billy Loomis in her veins, the blood of a serial killer, and she's trying to fight it as much as possible. I loved that going on throughout the film. Overall, the film was very, very entertaining. There's just a lot of things I rolled my eyes at. But it was like horror tropes that are supposed to happen in horror films. And it's really supposed to happen in this movie because it's making fun of horror tropes. I'm also glad that Mindy and Chad, the twins, are in this. I have a crush on Mindy, Jasmine Savoy Brown. And Mason Gooding is hilarious in this. He was funny in Scream 5 as well. God, there's so many. He was funny in Scream 5 as well, but this one, I love the beheadings joke. When I watched this in the theater, they said, like, in the middle of the movie, and beheadings can happen in this movie. He goes, beheadings? And it was a funny little bit. Towards the end, they're running, and this Ghostface slashes a mannequin's head off, and he goes, oh, beheadings! It was so funny, and I laughed for a long time. No one else in the theater laughed. I don't think they caught it. I caught it. Props to you, whoever's idea that was. I will say, and I don't care what anyone says, I saw it coming who the killers were. The biggest clue that they gave us to one of the characters being the killer was the fact that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that there's ever been an off-screen murder besides in Scream 3, where the director is found in an ice box with his throat slashed or just being stabbed. I can't remember which one. They didn't show him die, and later on in that film, he was revealed to be the singular killer. In this movie, it was the same. We didn't see her die, and she was pushed into someone else. Her body was. And they didn't show the father discovering her. They only showed him come down the stairs and go, oh, I'm going to kill whoever did this. Sam told the cop that she was seeing a therapist, and that was her alibi. All of a sudden, the therapist gets murdered. The only person that knew about the therapist was the cop. So that was a pretty easy clue. So I was basically suspecting him and the dead girl for a very long time. I will say I didn't see it coming for it to be the kid that what's-her-name keeps saying is him. Ethan. I didn't see Ethan coming. I thought it was going to be the cop, Detective Bailey, played by Dermot Mulroney, Quinn Bailey, played by Liana Liberata, and I thought it was going to be Danny. I knew that it was going to be the family of Richie because they talk about Richie all the time, and Richie's phone is calling, so it's probably a family member, just like Scream 3, where it ends up being the family member of Sydney, and just like Scream 2, where it ended up being Billy Loomis's mother. So it's all in the family, right? The best part of this movie is the end, I gotta say. The part where she's about to kill him and decides not to. She looks at Jenna Ortega and decides not to. And she goes, but it looks like I have to anyway, and she does. It shows that she's having an internal struggle with doing this, but also the Carpenter sisters are badass. The part where they're holding each other like, you gotta let me go, trust me. And they like fight back. They don't run, they fight back. Very Sidney Prescott of them. So there are 2 times where Sam is about to have a killer moment. One when she's about to kill the cop, but she sees Jenna Ortega. And the second time when she's holding the mask and she's thinking about taking it, but she's interrupted by Jenna Ortega. So her sister is the only thing that's stopping her from becoming the killer that her father was. She throws away the mask. But will it hold up in a later film? I want another Scream. I'm not going to lie. Just for the Carpenter sisters. They're the best addition to this new Rebootaquel franchise, whatever the fuck. And also, I want them to end these movies. And there is an after credits scene. I'm not going to tell you what the after credits scene is in case you didn't stay to watch it, but don't look it up. Just watch the after credits scene. That about wraps it up. What's going to be next? I don't know. I just hope that I'm not murdered. All right. GhostFace, anything to say? GhostFace? Is the killer the phone? I don't understand why the phone disappeared.
You talk too much. You should have called a different host.
Shink!